session today and Sushanth. I am Dr. Shinu Abi, the Director for Corporate Training Programs at REVA. We call ourselves as REVA Academy for Corporate Excellence. On behalf of REVA University, let me welcome each of you who have joined this webinar to this very interesting topic today, which is 22 glorious years of Indian cyber law, past, present, and future. Today's the expert is going to be Dr. Sai Sushanth, who is a cyber law expert, techno-legal consultant, and who runs a boutique IT law associate firm. And just to give a small background of this topic, that all of us have been given alert on cyber breaches happening at various mobile and other devices that which we have hooked onto, and all of us must be aware at least the basic premises on which cyber law acts in our own individual and personal life. More than that, this is also affecting the organizations and the societies that which we live in. So this is as part of the larger awareness campaigns that we have been doing around cyber security as well as cyber law awareness. We are so happy to bring you this to an hour-long discussion with one of the expert in this area, who is Dr. Sushanth. And he is going to take us through not just on the basics of tenets of cyber law, but also take us through some of the interesting games as well as very interesting real-time case studies and how these emerging technologies are affecting the cyber breaches in our day-to-day life, and how do we handle this, and what are the way forward is also being discussed. So if you are looking to learn more about cyber law, this is the right session. We request you to stay back till we close the session in an hour, and also connect with us and Dr. Sushanth for further help on this area. Over to you, Dr. Sushanth, and looking forward to a great session from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shinu, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you, Reva University, for recognizing the importance of the Indian cyber law and giving me this wonderful opportunity today to come and talk to you about the 22nd year of the Indian cyber law. Thank you so much. It's a great honor and privilege to be part of this wonderful event. So without much delay, I think I would like to just directly get on to my presentation and then talk to you as we discuss forward. This is the usual response I get when I'm taking a session, that too to a non-legal audience. So I hope that most of your expressions are this way because I'm not able to see your videos, but let me hope that I'll change these expressions as we go forward. Now, right to privacy is the fundamental right of every Indian citizen. So you can no longer say that privacy is not something that is not going to affect me. Today, the law gives you a wonderful option that in case you're affected in any manner with respect to your privacy, you can directly now go ahead and file a case in the High Court or the Supreme Court under Article 226 or under Article 32 of the Indian Constitution, which means that a writ petition can now be filed in case there is a breach of your privacy in any manner. So the message that you have on the screen looks very funny, but I think it's a big message all around. So the privacy of individual family members is also now something that everybody has to pay close attention to. So I would call all of us who are using social media as digital slaves. The reason I'm trying to make that statement is whatever you and I do on the social media today, we are generating content, and it is the companies who are getting benefit out of the content generated by you and me. So I believe that the master gets the benefit out of all the effort taken by the slave. So in that context, I was just trying to, on a lighter note, call ourselves as digital slaves. And this wonderful game called Guess Who, which was very popular during 90s, especially during our schooling days, I think it's a very big learning lesson for all of us. The reason is, as you're able to see on the screen, there are two players who are going to play this game, and there are individual cards that are going to be put up by every player, and the other player has to guess the card and the person depending on the attributes. Like for example, how the hair looks, whether he has mustache or beard, what is the attributes that he has, spectacles, no spectacles, all these things using which I have to guess that particular individual. I think this is a big learning lesson for all of us, because good, bad, or worst, a lot of our data is available in fragmented quantity on the internet, using which we can get attributed in any manner, and people can identify us based on our digital attributes that we leave on the internet. So I think it's a broad message we have today. And not just that, I believe that when you look at the Indian cyber law, I call this as a Mother India legislation as far as digital aspects are concerned. Because if I were to talk to you about 5 important laws passed by independent India post independence, the Indian cyber law will be one of them. Now, the fundamental question that most of us have is, what is cyber law? Most of us tend to think that cyber law is a law used for punishing cyber criminals and cyber crimes. So I would say that's not what it is. And how is it going to impact me? Well, if you are an individual or if you are a company who is making use of any of these 7 raw materials, I think you have to now be aware that cyber law is going to be applicable to you. If you're using computers, computer systems, computer resources, computer networks, communication devices, as also data or information in the electronic format, lo and behold, because there is now cyber law that you'll have to be aware of. And in India, we have Information Technology Act 2000, which came into effect on October 17th, 2000. And I'm thankful to Reva University for giving me this memorable occasion to address you on the same day of October 17th, celebrating and marking the glorious 22 years of our Indian cyber law. So we made an amendment in the year 2008. And as a common person who's using computer, mobile phone, and internet, I would want you to be aware of these things. One is the Information Technology Act 2000, the amendment in the year 2008, and we started supplementing the same with rules of 2011 and 2021 and also 2022. So primarily, every law has got some objective. So before getting into the law, I just wanted you to understand that this is not a law for punishing cyber crimes. The reason I'm trying to tell you this is, if you open the Information Technology Act, you can never find the term cyber crime anywhere in the law. Why? The reason is, it's not a punishment law or a penal statute. The main intention of the Information Technology Act is to give legal recognition and validity to all electronic transactions. Not only that, whatever we are doing today, like filing our income tax returns and filing our GST returns, and whatever filing that we are doing today is also now given legal recognition and validity only because of the Information Technology Act. So the e-banking, the e-business, the e-transactions that we are doing today is all legally recognized and given validity only because of the Information Technology Act. And to give boost to e-governance and e-commerce was one of the main fundamental reasons why this law came into picture. Because United Nations actually come up with their model law of commerce, and India was a signatory to this body, wherein all the member states who are signatory to this body were asked to pass their national laws based on this, and due to which the Information Technology Act was enacted in the year 2000. Now, one of the most important aspects that I would want you to understand is about electronic record. So the word itself says that any information or data that you create using a electronic or a digital device now is called electronic record. So your Facebook conversation, your LinkedIn chat, your WhatsApp communication, audio, video, image, text, whatever you're creating today using a computer or a digital device becomes an electronic record. So what happens when it becomes an electronic record? Well, the Information Technology Act gives legal recognition to the electronic record. So which means what? Which means that anything that you do electronically, the data that you generate becomes a legally recognized document. Whatever payments that you're making today, whether it's through your net banking or whether it's through Paytm, whether it's through Phone Pay or Google Pay, all these were given legal recognition because of the Information Technology Act. And not only that, the video conferencing. That means we had video meetings during the COVID-19. We had online classes. We have online meetings, online webinars. All these are nothing but data or information in the electronic format. And lo and behold, they are also now covered under the domain of Information Technology Act. Not just that, now companies have gone a step further. They're looking at facial recognition as one of their modes to capture attendance. And not only companies, airports are also looking at coming up with facial recognition as one of the tools for authenticating passengers. So even that is now legally recognized under the Indian cyber law. We have facial recognition, which is your electronic signature, but as also the data or information in the electronic format is nothing but your facial recognition data. So that's also covered under the domain of cyber law. The wearable devices that you and I use, like smartwatches, whatever be the smartwatch that you and I use, are now also going to be covered under the domain of the Indian cyber law, because it's a computer and it's also a communication device. Apart from that, it's also going to be covering data or information in the electronic format, because any data or document you have access to on your wearable device is now an electronic record under the IT Act. So whatever be the data that we are today storing, I think it's all on the cloud. Whether I'm using a mobile phone, a computer, an email, or whatever be it, I think all the data that is stored today is on the cloud. And that is also the data or information in the electronic format. It's an electronic record and it gets covered under the Indian cyber law. So we are also having new concepts known as cyber sovereignty, where the application of cyber law is not only done to the physical boundaries, but also to the territorial boundaries, the outer space, the Arctic and Antarctic regions, and also to deep seabeds. Now, post-COVID or during the COVID period, a lot of states have now exercised more power over its citizens, especially on their social media posts. We've seen a lot of cases wherein the state governments have filed criminal cases for the posts made on social media by various citizens. I think this is one exciting area that we'll have to jump into. So this is where I said there's an increase in the interception and monitoring of the content, especially on the social media and the electronic domain. All this is now because of the Information Technology Act. 3D printing has already begun, and we started to see 3D printing related arms and ammunitions and 3D printing related activities being done on by different business entities. You can also go ahead and buy and create your own digital 3D printed model with the 3D printer by purchasing the same online. And this is also now going to be based on computer aided design, which is called a CAD file. So this is also covered under the domain of the Information Technology Act. And I'm beginning to see a new cyber world order where a new kind of legal principles have already started to come in. We have the certain guidelines 2022, which are IT directives, which are mandating you to report any kinds of cyber security breaches that are taking place within your organization. And the time limit is from the time you're aware of the breach, within 6 hours, you'll have to report. Failing which, you get exposed to different liabilities, which include civil, criminal, and liabilities as far as your organization is concerned. And you're also likely to face personal liability as an employee in case you fail to report the same breach to this organization. So huge things are happening around. And not only that, I thought I'll just take you through a very interesting IoT case that has come to me during the COVID-19. At a point where all of us were engaged in online business, online meetings, as well as during work from home and online classes, we had this case where one of the persons was actually taking an online class, and there was an IoT device, Amazon Alexa, in the house, plugged in the same room where the faculty was actually taking the class. And lo and behold, 3 days later, she received a parcel from Amazon, and she was shocked because she never ordered for the same. And you'll be surprised that how the order was generated. The Amazon Alexa recorded the conversation, interpreted that there's a requirement of such an item, and went ahead and placed the order on Amazon. So this is how IoT devices can actually contribute to various kinds of legal issues with or without our knowledge. Now 5G has already arrived, and in come in the cyber-related frauds. Now 5G coming in, I think a lot of cyber criminals are trying to make the advantage of asking you to upgrade yourself or your handset to avail the 5G services. So a lot of OTPs have been generated left, right, and center, and people have been asked to share these OTPs. So I believe that this is something that you and I should never do, because nobody is going to ask you for OTPs. Tata Power was now recently under a cybersecurity breach, and I must really salute them because they've gone ahead and declared that they were hit with a cyber attack and sent out a letter of communication to the Bombay Stock Exchange also. So I think this is a wake-up call to all of us, that we, as an intermediary, as a service provider, as a governmental organization, as an association, trust, and as a sole proprietor, if you're engaging in any professional activities like me, lawyers, doctors, and chartered accountants, auditors, you'll now have to be aware that reporting of these breaches are mandatory. This is one plus example that has set the ball rolling. See, Uber's case, where the CISO of Uber was now arrested and criminalized for his offense of covering up a data breach that took place in 2016. Now, 6 years down the line, now this sets forth an example to all of us. In India, the moment you're hit with a cyber breach and you're aware of the said breach, you're supposed to report within 6 hours. Failing which, anybody who's coming to know about this breach, it be competitors, it be employees, it be any of the partners, vendors, if they report that your organization was hit with a breach, in the next 7 years, lo and behold, that you're going to face legal consequences for your capacity of non-reporting. So that's the kind of exposure that this case tells us. Over 40% of Indian consumers face data breach online, says this new study. I think it's a big, big, bad world on the internet. Metaverse has already arrived. We started to see Metaverse events, we've seen digital avatars, and we've seen a lot of digital activities, virtual, properties being made available on Metaverse. Just imagine that you and I have a digital avatar, and we are interacting through that avatar in this session today. And that's Metaverse. It's no longer an Hollywood movie. It's now become the ground reality. And whatever you do on Metaverse is, again, data or information in the electronic format. It's an electronic record, gets covered under the domain of Indian cyber law. And already participants, Metaverse crime has begun. We've seen the first case of Metaverse virtual rape of one of the avatars, who was actually reported that her digital avatar, her Metaverse avatar on the Metaverse, was put to harassment. I think this is one example of looking at how crimes are not waiting, but they're actually getting themselves into new kinds of perpetrations. But I think today the Information Technology Act is actually trying to cover these as well. Metaverse land is also now available for you to go ahead and purchase your virtual land, and in consideration of that, you get an NFT, which is non-fungible token. Just talk about that as well. Now, non-fungible tokens are something which are getting very, very popular, especially if they have unique pieces. Classical example that I want to talk to you about NFT is a painting, or a ticket. If you go ahead and buy a first show ticket for one of your favorite movies, that is one and only piece which is available. You cannot get the second ticket again, once again, though you watch the movie once more. So something which cannot be replaced, it's called non-fungible. And how is it called a token? Because we are attributing that to a token, which is a cryptocurrency. Let's take the example of a note. So all of us know that we have currency notes. It's just a piece of paper. But how are we recognizing it? We are adding value to that note, whether it's 500 rupees or 100 rupees or 2000 rupees. The note is given the value of the respective money. Same way, the token also is given a value of that particular non-fungible virtual asset. So that token represents the asset, and anything to do there is also data or information within electronic format, and it's legally recognized under the Information Technology Act as a electronic record. So I have a small awareness game that I thought I'll just put forth before you. So in the paucity of time, we'll just quickly do that. We have numbers ranging from 1 to 21, and if you can just put the number in the chat box, we'll just go and understand and see what is in store for this number, so that we are aware of the same. Can we go ahead and start, please? Can you go ahead and share the number?
Yes, please.
I think the
I
first
think,
number is
yeah. So
okay,
let's
okay,
start with, yeah, I don't think anybody is putting the chat, but I think we can choose any number, right?
yeah, any number 1 to 21.
Okay. Can we go to 17?
17. Okay, fine. OTT. So let's try to understand that whatever transactions are happening on OTT, whether uploading of content or disseminating of content, is also now covered under the ambit of the cyber law, which is meaning to say that if you're running an OTT platform, or if you're subscribing to OTT platform, lo and behold that you're now covered under the domain of the Indian cyber law. So the IT rules 2021 bringing certain kind of responsibilities on companies who are trying to generate and disseminate content on OTTs. And as users, we will also have to observe our due diligence while we're actually trying to make use of the OTT. So I hope you got the learning of what how OTT can be used. Yes. Can we go to the next number, please?
7. Sushant, a small note, your voice is breaking. Can we
Okay,
go to
now is
7?
it better? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, done. Yeah. So I believe a lot of us are playing online games, and at the time when we are playing these games, it's very very important that you actually try to look at what are the terms and conditions and what are the policies of this game, because it's very important. And one of the major things that I would like to tell you is, please be aware about the kind of games that you're playing, because sometimes what happens is, with or without your knowledge, you're indulging in breach of the regulations. For example, in the state of Telangana, you are not supposed to play any online game which involves money, because the moment any game is providing money, that becomes gambling, and now you are in violation of the state gaming policy, which is now going to bring in huge legal and ramifications to you if you do that. So I would say, please look at the terms and conditions as well as the state that you're actually living in before you play online games. Not only that, online identities, please verify that. Please see how your data is stored and to whom all it gets available. So that's the learning that I thought I'll just share with all of you. Yes, can we go to the next number, please?
Okay. That's quite interesting because many of them are playing online games, especially kids and teenagers. Next number is 12. Sushant?
10? 10 or
12.
12?
12.
12.
Yes.
Okay. I think cryptocurrencies are now being the short-term investment model for every youngster, especially people who have just started to earn. I think they're trying to look at the investment of in bitcoins, but please be aware that at the minute we do not have any law which is providing legal recognition, rather legal status to bitcoins. Not just that, please be aware that a lot of these legal compliances are now being put in. For example, taxation is now being initiated for any profit or any gain that you're getting out of the investment in cryptocurrency. 30% tax and 1% of TDS. And if you're running a cryptocurrency marketplace, or if you're trying to be a company who's trying to collect money from people and under the garb of getting investment in cryptocurrency, think again, because there are a set of legal compliances under the new IT rules 2021 that you have to do, like KYC and things like that. failing which you get exposed to civil, criminal, and other liabilities. Even not only for your firm, but individually, you would also be legally held responsible. So I think this is the key learning that you have to keep in mind. Can we go to the next number, please?
Can we have 3? Number 3.
Okay. Now, please be aware that if you access or secure access, download, copy, extract data, damage, disrupt, and do any kinds of activities without the proper permission of the owner of a computer or a computer resource or the person who's in charge of a computer, you will now be brought under the domain of Information Technology Act, wherein if it can be proved that you have done that without any intention, then there's only going to be compensation by way of damages up to 5 crore rupees that can be lodged against you for each act. So you do 5 acts, up to 25 crores is what you can potentially be sued for. Failing which, if it can be proved that you have intentionally uh, and deliberately got unauthorized access something that you're not supposed to do without prior permission, then God bless you, because there's criminal liability that's also going to be on you, which will lead you to imprisonment ranging from 3 years to 10 years, and fine ranging from 1 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees. So that's the kind of legal exposure that you can have. It can be very simple, even switching on a computer and also actually trying to plug in a pen drive. So that can also be a contravention for which compensation could be sought by way of damages. So I would say please think again while acting without any authorization. Yes, can we go to the next number, please?
Can we have 5?
WhatsApp has become the de facto communication mode for every one of us in India. But please be aware, apart from the controversy that's happening on privacy policy of WhatsApp, the WhatsApp has made it very clear in its terms and conditions that whatever you share, audio, video, image, or text on WhatsApp becomes information in public domain. What happens if it is information in public domain? You are stripping off your privacy and you're signing off on a death warrant. So therefore, once you share out this information in any manner, including your display picture, please be aware that if there is a breach of privacy, you will no longer be able to enforce the same, because you have agreed to the terms and conditions of WhatsApp, and then you have gone ahead and started making use of the same. So please be aware of what you share on WhatsApp, and specifically not only yours, but if you share someone else's information, there could also be a chance that you could be actually facing legal consequences, because until and unless you go through the terms and conditions, you cannot go ahead and download and make use of WhatsApp, which is meaning to say that you have knowledge of the set terms, and despite having knowledge, if you breach the privacy of any other individual, then you could be in for a criminal liability also under the Information Technology Act, apart from getting compensation claims. So be very careful on what you share, disseminate, transmit on WhatsApp, specifically protecting the privacy, with now the privacy becoming the fundamental right. Thanks. Can we go to the next number, please?
Yeah. We'll take 2 more, Sushanth. One is 11.
2?
11.
11. Okay. Yeah, so terms and conditions of any mobile app, I would suggest please look at the policies and the terms and conditions of any mobile app that you're actually downloading or making use of, so that you're aware how your data is shared, to whom all is it going to be available, and what they do with your data, because that's going to be very, very important as you go forward.
There's a breakage in your voice.
I believe that yeah, now am I audible? Now am I better?
Yes, but in between it's moving. Yeah. Okay. Yes, now it's better.
Yeah. So I was just trying to say that, in case you're using a mobile app, please look at the terms and conditions of WhatsApp, of the mobile app, any mobile app, and please look at the permissions, because with and without our knowledge, we are giving permissions to various mobile apps, and they also have some specific terms that they'll not be held liable, responsible for any kinds of issues that are arising with respect to your data. So please look at the policies very carefully, especially the terms and conditions and also privacy policy, to understand how your data is stored, to whom all is it shared, and what all security measures they have to protect your data. I think this is all that I have with respect to this.
Sure. Number 20, we'll take the last one.
Okay. So be very careful on the kind of applications that you use, because a lot of times there could be identity thefts like phishing. Phishing is fake pages resembling the original. Most of the times we get duped. There'll be one small element which will not exactly be the replica of the original. Please identify the links, and especially banking links, when you're clicking, when you're accessing, when you're entering your passwords, whether it's social media or whether it's banking or any other transactions that you're doing. Please be aware. If you get a doubt, do not do that. Plus, please observe the URLs properly when you're using it on websites, and on the mobile apps, observe it very carefully. Sometimes if you look at a minor observation, I think that can help you to identify which is a genuine page and which is a phished page or a fake page. So this is very, very important as far as transactions online are concerned. So I think we are done with the last number as well. So I'm just moving a bit more further. Now the law has now come up with something known as sensitive personal data or information. So what is sensitive? Your passwords, financial information, biometric information, your gender related information, health conditions and health records. So all these are your sensitive information that the law gives you. So the next time you're sharing your sensitive information, think again, because this is now your sensitive and personal data under the law. Not just that, there's an exception. What is the exception? Any information disclosed under RTI, Right to Information Act, as also in data information available in public domain. This is exactly what I was talking to you about, WhatsApp, that includes Facebook as well. So please be very careful, because once it becomes information or data in the public domain, then it is no longer considered as sensitive and personal. Now, what is personal? We discussed what is sensitive. Now let us understand what is personal. Any information with which I can identify a person becomes personal information, whether it's email, whether it's Aadhaar, whether it's credit card, whether it's bank account details, whether it's the PAN card, driving license, passport, IP address, college ID, official ID, anything which identifies a person becomes personal information. And okay, due to paucity of time, I think I'm not getting into this. Yeah, I thought we just identify and look what is sensitive and what is not sensitive. Out of the picture, what you're seeing here, see, there are some things that we cannot really classify as sensitive. For example, cookie identifiers, unless they have, IP address. Then, for example, height and weight. You can't identify a person based on height and weight, but you can identify the person based on other things like name, identification number, email, and other things. So electronic evidence, no, anything and everything that you create online, so whether it's a photograph, a video, audio, or text, is an electronic evidence, can be used either for or against you. So be very careful on what you post, because what you post or make available in digital form leaves its trail over there. So just because you delete, don't be under the presumption that it will not be available. Still, there can be cases of retrieval. So I would say please be aware on what you post online and what you make available online. Darknet, I think a lot of things are happening across the darknet. There's a special kind of net, the dark side of the internet, just like the dark side of a human being. So a lot of things are happening on the darknet, legitimate, illegitimate activities. So just like to just talk to you about two provisions, and then next 5 or 10 minutes I'll just conclude. This is a very interesting domain that I was just talking to you about. I just spoke to you regarding, if you access any computer system without any permission. See, these are the different activities which award compensation in case you do any of the said activities. So, which is meaning to say that you download, copy, extract data, introduce computer contaminant, damage, disrupt, cause denial of access. That means you're denying access to someone. You facilitate. You don't do it directly. You help somebody. That also is something that you'll have to keep in mind. And not only that, please be aware that any offense that you commit using computer, so for anything that you have, I just talked to you about what's a computer. So under the IT Act, if three elements are present, we can call that as a computer: memory, arithmetic and logical unit, and the capacity to follow and execute instructions. Memory, arithmetic and logical unit, capacity to follow and understand instructions. If these three are present in any device, that device is called a computer. So even an automatic washing machine is a computer under the law. So if you're doing anything dishonestly and fraudulently using a computer, that becomes an offense. If you're using a stolen mobile phone or a computer, then you will not be accused merely for storing that particular device, but you'll also be charged with data theft. Whatever data is present in that device, you'll also be accused for stealing that particular data. Identity theft: you're dishonestly or fraudulently using someone else's picture, name or email ID, fake emails, fake profiles on the social media. All these are identity thefts. That's a criminal offense. You're cheating by impersonation. We a lot of times get fake emails and fake profiles on the social media or identity theft. Any communication or chat that you make through the profile becomes cheating by impersonation. You're pretending to be someone else, factually you're not that person altogether. And deep fake already has started, where technology is now being used for superimposing images on videos and photographs, such that there you can create probably anything and everything using the same. But these also are covered under the ambit of the Information Technology Act. Fake applications, fake news: for WhatsApp admins, a big caution. If there is any dissemination, sharing, transmission of fake news on your groups, think again, because you're now being brought not only under the radar of IT Act, but also under the radar of IPC, where you could be charged with forgery of electronic record, because SMS or messages are also electronic records under the law. Now I have very interesting slides before to conclude. I thought I'd just talk to you from films perspective, that what you can learn from films. So online piracy: to counter online piracy, and these two producers of these two films, Singham and Bodyguard, they got a new order which is called John Doe order. John Doe means unknown. So normally you know the party against whom you're filing a case, but on the internet you do not. If you do not have any idea how the piracy is going to be taking place, then you can get an order restraining anybody from actually doing any kinds of activities with your content. So if any website, any mobile application, or anything on the internet is doing that, it amounts to contempt of court, and that is how they were able to reduce the piracy, though not completely, at least to a great extent. So John Doe order is something that we have to keep in mind. And trademark registration is going to be very important. Let me just tell you how. So this wonderful movie called Sholay, I'm sure everybody is aware of this movie. Now this filmmaker called Ram Gopal Verma went ahead and wanted to remake the movie, and he came up with this movie called Ram Gopal Verma Ki Sholay, where the makers of Sholay decided to sue him that he has infringed and violated the trademark. So what do you mean by trademark? It is an intellectual property which is specifically given for protecting brand names and logos. So therefore that's how he was able to stop this guy, and then this particular person had to rephrase his title to ARG. This is one another interesting case, Harry Potter versus Harry Potter. If you have intellectual property rights or legal rights, you have to enforce them at the right minute. You can't sleep over your rights. Specifically, if you want to sue somebody for copyright or trademark. Copyright talks about source code, software, sound, literary works like books and all that. So if you want to enforce these rights, you should enforce them at the right point. If you sleep over the rights, you can no longer enforce it. So this is one case that was very predominant. And let me tell you, participants, if you're a company, if you're a startup looking to do some business, first thing I would say, please look at this wonderful movie in Malayalam. The title, as you're able to see on the screen, it really gives you a broad message. So what's the message? If you have an investor coming in, if you have anybody doing any kinds of business activity, register your business. The moment you register it, you're different, your firm is different. So nobody can personally file a case or attach your assets. So this is the broad message that this wonderful movie gives us. This movie, National Award movie that you're able to see of Surya, gives a very broad message that should you want to start up any company or go ahead and already running, if you're running a company, please have a founders agreement or a director's agreement in place to define the roles and responsibilities of all your directors or partners, because this is going to be a very critical document, because if there is a breach or if there's a confusion, I think this document will be the right answer that you can look at. So that's the whole point, because in business, I think, it's always better to act in caution than to be sorry at a later point. Please be very aware of the agreements that you sign in, especially business documents, because this wonderful movie called Bazaar talks about the importance of looking and going through the terms and conditions of agreements before you sign them, because otherwise you're signing off on a death warrant. And in this movie, it is wonderfully showcased that because of a small mistake of not reading the terms and conditions of the agreement, the second lead actor falls into trouble. So recently we'd seen Moonlighting. I think, Rocket Singh movie is a classical example of the same. So if you're already associated with one company in a full-time position, think again of not joining any other company or providing any services to any company in any capacity, failing which, again, legal action could be pursued against you. Again, talking about this movie, Surya's National Award movie, I think it's very important that if you're a startup, if you're an entrepreneur and you wish to go ahead and take some funding, please be aware of the legal terms and conditions thereof. Investor coming in, you're taking it in any form of investment, or you're going ahead and taking financial support from any organization, please read through the terms. That is something which is critical. And not just that, the investor will have some expectations. So I would say, look at the term sheets, look at the shareholders and investor agreements thoroughly and carefully, and so that you do not end up giving something that you actually did not commit on the paper. And I would say, if you're a startup or an entrepreneur and you got a potential investment, please plan out for a potential exit. I think that's something that you have to clearly understand from this movie. Drawing a proper exit strategy is something that you have to clearly understand being a businessman. If you're using chatbots, especially on your websites, mobile applications, think of the legal considerations and legal aspects. For those of us who are using Swiggy, that's a classical example. Swiggy bots are there. Anything that they do, again, it's again covered under the Indian cyber law. We have electronic records, and whatever data is generated by chatbots also gets amenable to the Indian cyber law. Force majeure is become one of the very interesting domains, especially during the COVID-19 period. I think this wonderful movie talks about force majeure and legal aspects. COVID-19 is also now a force majeure in some states and for some purposes, not in all, not for completely all business verticals. Please be alive to that. Impersonation attacks. This wonderful movie, it's a depiction of how people can impersonate themselves as authorities. So be very careful, especially with regard to income tax, taxation, GST, and other kinds of activities that are happening. You keep receiving a lot of emails. So I really hope that you do not give up information relating to the same. And my advice is, whenever you're signing up for partnerships or vendors or doing any kinds of activities, please understand the legal nuances, document them carefully, and that if you're sharing out sensitive and personal data, have in place the data protection and processing agreements to ensure that you have your due diligence. Data has now become the new asset of the times. So a lot of companies are looking at protecting data, especially sensitive and personal data. Try having policies in place. Try having your insurances in place, cyber insurances, and take your due diligence that you're required to under Rule 3 of the IT rules, as well as under IT rules 2011, and that should really help you. And if you get any idea, you have a brand name, you come up with a software. My first urge is like this movie called Satya, which was a sensational hit at that point. Please register it. It only costs you very, very minimalistic amount of money, but that can really help you to display your legal ownership on your respective product or name. So if you have a brand name, if you have a product, I think it's advisable that you go ahead and either register a trademark, a copyright, or a patent to protect the same. So I would say, please have proper policies in place, proper terms and conditions. And if you're having a website, mobile application, platform, or a software, have 4 things in place: privacy policy, terms and conditions, your user agreements, and a grievance officer details. So these four will be the compliances that you will have to exercise as a service provider, as an intermediary, as anybody who's probably looking at having in place data collection and dissemination of services thereafter. So legal compliances are like this wonderful case, dialogue in this movie called Godfather. So absolutely, you cannot get away in saying I'm an individual, I'm a small company, I'm not such a big guy. How cyber law gets affected to me? In what way can it impact me? I think that's a wrong approach. Please be alive to the fact that size does not matter when it comes to cyber legal compliances. So if you're having any kinds of business, I think taxation was something that you'll have to keep in mind. And not just that, I would say please be alive to the fact that you should get yourself complied even with the new guidelines of 2021, 2022, as also the Information Technology Act 2000. So when you're sharing out information with anybody, I would suggest if it is sensitive, if it is confidential, and if that has intrinsic business value, then I would say have in place proper NDAs. Just don't merely copy paste the NDAs. Please look at it and apply the same to what you're sharing and what you're making available, failing which that is not going to have any consequence. So I'd say what is necessary is only what is required. So I would say given the short span of time, I tried to just run you through some of the existing things that I thought are important. So thank you so much. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to address it.
Very, very interesting areas of discussions, which definitely requires more time, Sushanth. But because of the lack of time, that let us close. We have a few questions. The first question is that how do we manage cross-country contracts and its enforcement? Most of the application says that the data or the enforcement would be done in USA. How is it applicable to an Indian consumer?
Excellent question. I think now they are no longer going to tell that, because with the new guidelines that have come in, any company who's providing services to citizens located in India will now be brought under the radar of the Information Technology Act. Not to worry about that, and they will now have to appoint grievance officers, and they have to be resident Indians. So therefore, any issues that you have with respect to that, you can reach out to the grievance officers, and they are Indians, and their details are also made available. If it is social media, then they have nodal officers whose data is available in the public domain, phone number and email ID. You can reach out to them in case you want to get any information, any profile deleted, and if you want to raise any complaint or issue. I think that can solve your problem, despite the fact that they are governed by the foreign laws.
Thank you so much. Another question is that are there any single point of resources where we can get access to know about our cyber rights?
See, specifically, if you would just like to understand about your rights, I'd say more than rights, please be aware of the compliances, because once you have the compliances in place, the rights automatically come in. For example, if you have the compliance under the IT Act, whatever be the breach, suppose despite the fact that you're compliant, you are hit with a cyber breach, you still have the safe harbor provision under section 79, which says no liability whatsoever can be cast on you or your organization in whatsoever manner. So please be aware of the compliances than rights, because rights automatically follow once the compliance is there.
The question was more to where to get these information for a individual.
For an individual, if you want to try to understand it, I would say please understand some basic parameters of IT Act. So like I told you, now right to be forgotten and right to erasure is also now made applicable. The Bombay High Court has recently delivered a judgment wherein you can get your information erased or forgotten by a search engine by sending out a legal notice to them. So I would say that please look at IT rules 2021 and look at that, because they are clearly mandated what are your responsibilities and rights that you can get in this context. So the IT Act and IT rules 2021 will give you some answer in that domain, especially relating to individuals.
Okay, so one suggestion would be to Dr. Sushanth is to compile into a website so that common people who are averse to reading the legal document can come in and get some very, very easy way of understanding.
Sure,
Okay.
definitely. We already started to do that, and then I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to do the same as well.
Okay, okay. So that's the last question. And if any of you have any questions, please connect to us. We are available at our website, race.reva.edu.in, or you can connect through the YouTube or any other channels that you are connected to us. So I will take a few minutes to discuss about the kind of programs that which we run along with Dr. Sushanth is one of our resource persons who is also part of our multiple masters programs that which we run. We would request all of you to go through some of these programs that which we run, and especially those who are not aware about Reva Academy for Corporate Excellence and our programs in emerging technologies. We would request you that please connect with us. And as a university, we are at North Bangalore, a beautiful campus with about 15,000 plus students and 200 plus faculty and staff, running about 80 plus courses, starting from PUC to PhD in various areas. And we specifically, Reva Academy for Corporate Excellence has been doing programs for working professionals and executives in areas like data science, AI, cybersecurity, cloud, and techno-functional leadership. So we look forward to meeting you maybe online or offline to see that how individual learning needs can be discussed. What we have set it up is a beautiful ecosystem of mentors and resource persons like Dr. Sushanth. We have 50 and more resources, and we design hundreds of courses around these areas. And we have a great ecosystem of learners as well, with about 10 to 12 years of experience, and a series of multiple partners and vendors who actually connects with us to give the right labs, right tools, and the knowledge centers. So please do connect in terms of what is the latest happening in emerging technology space with our master's programs, especially one in business analytics and AI. These are the two masters in data science. The one which Dr. Sushanth and cybersecurity experts handle, we have two programs, one in cybersecurity and another one in cloud architecture and security. In cybersecurity, cyber law is an important component, and much more in detail will be discussed by Dr. Sushanth, and certain projects are also being done in this area. We also do customized short-term programs, which also can be customized or can be made as per the requirements of organizations. And maybe we can skip these ones, Sushant, for the lack of time. But we do have a very, very extensive infrastructure, something like this, which is we are the first private university in India to have a live security operations center, which you see in the diagram. We have multiple simulators, something which is very high end, which is called Cyber Range, where we can emulate the traffic as well as create offensive and defensive traffic. And this is the typical program structure. We would love to connect with you further on these programs if you are interested. But moving forward, our intention would be to connect with you further to see how we can help you to connect in terms of even if it is cyber law or if it is cyber security assets. We would love to connect with you. So with that, I think we have come to the end of this 1 hour webinar. We do hope that this webinar has given you open multiple avenues as well as resources and be a little more aware and little more in terms of your basic awareness and basic rights, that how to make use of the technology with cyber law, keeping that in mind. And thank you, Dr. Sushanth. 22 years of cyber law. I think it's been phenomenal growth in terms of enforcements and amendments. And we do hope that this session has been very useful for all of you. Looking forward to connecting with you further. So thank you so much again, Dr. Sushanth, and everyone who joined the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shinu. Thank you, Reva University. Thank you, the entire team, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. So let's contribute to a cyber safe session, cyber safe, state, as well as cyber safe nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.